I got scammed, you know. A friend of mine took about 15 million yen from me. This secret base? You can find the same one at the Toyota Museum. I buy things because I like the look of them, you know, because they are cool. There are some old things from the 1930s and 40s. I have a lot of iron crosses on display. It's spacious, isn't it? I made all of this myself. This is all handmade, of course. We rent this garage with these members here. I have many ambitions. I want to always be a cool adult, no matter how old I get. Hello, I'm Naoya Morishita. I have a variety of jobs, but my main focus is running about 3 restaurants. I also manage a car shop, an antique furniture store, an interior design business, and a few other ventures. This is actually a place I rent as my office. It's in Kyoto, but I've always dreamed of having a man's hideout since I was in junior high school. Isn't this cool? It's like a secret base. So I thought, let's make a secret base, and I rented this place. The back area is usually used as a workshop, though it's a bit messy at the moment. I also rent out part of this space to a friend who owns a motorcycle shop, and they use it for custom work and projects here. Over here, we've got antique materials and items I've imported for interior design projects. Some of these are old pieces dating back to the 1930s and 40s. Most of them are from the 1950s and 60s though, and I keep them around thinking I'll find a use for them someday. I've always had a fascination with vintage items, like those old cash registers. They're old national-made registers called US National. I think they're probably from the 1930s or 40s. I really like these. I run an American car shop, but I don't really like getting too deep into the details. I buy cars based on how they look, you know, if they're cool. So, I'm sorry, my knowledge is a little shallow. This one here is a Citroen. I don't think it's an American car. This is the only one. I bought it purely for the looks, but I can't really use it. I think it's just going to be an object now. I thought it was going to be in better condition when I bought it. It has no floor, and I've lost the energy to fix it now. I'm very familiar with this one. It's a Model T. I think it's from 1922. It's the car that Ford used to popularize automobiles among the general public. The same one is also in the Toyota Museum. The wheels are made of wood. They're wooden wheels. I've only been able to drive this twice so far. It's too slow, so it's not really good. It's hard with the engine from that era. I bought this as is from America, and now I'm thinking of replacing the engine so I can drive it around town. The next generation car is the Model A. I'm going to install an engine on this one too, so I can drive it around town as well. I will start making it now. First came the Model T, then the Model A, and then the Model B. This one is in the middle of that lineup. I'm thinking of cutting the roof. Both bikes are from the Rikwo brand, which is often called the Japanese Harley Davidson. This belongs to one of my staff. At my company, we kind of push everyone to get a car early on, but he's too busy to actually use it much. This place, which I call the office secret base, well, it is used as my office. If you like, I think this is probably the most secret base-like, the kind of thing guys would like. These old doors here, they're called Turkish doors. Let's open them. Please come in. And you'll see the secret base. There was nothing above, just a single prefab structure and a space underneath where you could park cars. We made a ceiling, assembled a scaffolding, and pasted concrete to the walls. It's called aging, this kind of old-looking paint. We applied it like this, tap, tap, tap. I made this with all my staff members. It took about a month. We were working on it from morning till night every day. Originally, I made this for me to live in back then. I had a dream of living in a warehouse. I thought it was so cool, right? But when you live in a warehouse, bugs just come in like crazy. So it was unlivable, so I stopped and just made it into an office. I made this archway myself. The setting here is supposed to be a bathroom. I wanted to be able to actually take a bath here, but I think I've only used it once. It was so much work to make, but I haven't used it. I did all the plumbing myself, everything. I just looked it up on YouTube. You can do it if you try, surprisingly. Basically, everything here is an antique that I've bought from the US and Europe, so I don't really know where or how they were used or what era they are from. But I like this, for example. It has a good vibe. I think it was probably used in a pub in the old days. The height isn't set for Japan, so it's a little high for Japanese people to use. Also, I wonder where things like these chairs were used in the past. Maybe a church, a train station, or a theater? It's cute, right? I've always liked that kind of old stuff. I made this whole thing as a kitchen. I made it with the concept of eating stylish yakisoba here, but I haven't eaten here even once. I even installed a sink so I can wash dishes here properly. You can't really see the sink, but it's there. This table is also an antique, and I really admire how Americans often wear shoes indoors, so I've put wood chips on the floor. I was gifted the paintings, so I wish I could say something cool like, "This is a painting by so-and-so and it was a big hit." But I don't know anything about them. They're from an unknown artist. I bought this sign because I was really drawn to it, but I can't read English, so I don't really know what it says. Maybe it's from a boot shop? Boots, shoes. This is a brand run by one of my close friends. It's called Nas Toys. I'm helping them out a bit right now. So, back in our day, there were people who often wore velour tracksuits, right? Like rebellious types. So, I asked them to make one for me, and they went out of their way to make it recently. For the rings, I wear some that I've received, some that I bought a long time ago, and some that I just like. I also wear rings from Nas Toys, and then my friend's clothing store is called American Wannabe, so this is a family ring made with some of my close friends. I had it made as a family ring. I also like the Iron Cross, and I have a lot of them on. I have one on the back of my hand, and I also wear an Iron Cross necklace. I'm an Iron Cross guy. I really push the Iron Cross hard. I first got one tattooed on my shoulder. I think a lot of people get tattoos because of the culture, or because they want to express what's important to them. I had a phase where I wanted to pretend to be a genius. Back then, I used to say Dali, because the artist said, if you pretend to be a genius, you can become one. I was really impressed by that, so I wanted to become a genius. So I thought I'd do the opposite of what normal people do. Everyone thinks a lot about their tattoos, right? I wanted to pretend to be a genius, so I decided not to think about it at all. So I leave all the designs to the tattoo artist. I go in without thinking and say, as long as it's black, and then I just leave it up to them to do whatever. I had my junior Ren tattoo my palm. I liked that, because no one tattoos their palm. It really hurt. My favorites are the palm I mentioned before, and also my neck, and also these little swords that are here. I think that's a sword, right? I think I like the sword the most. I was told that it was put there with the meaning of attack. I like that kind of thing. I told them to just put something here, and when I realized it, there was a sword. I asked why it was a sword, and they said, "Naoya, you're always attacking, right?" "Oh, I see. You don't need a shield, do you?" "Oh, I get it." As for my fashion journey, in my 20s I liked American culture, so I was basically always wearing this kind of stuff. I guess it was in my 30s when I started wearing more flashy things. I liked more simple looks until then. As people get into their 30s, they usually become more mature and start wearing simpler things, right? But like I said before, I wanted to be a genius and do the opposite. So I started wearing more flashy things from around my 30s. Since this is my office, why don't we go to my restaurant nearby afterwards? We can go in my car. Please be careful of the step. Today, I'll introduce the car we'll be taking to the restaurant. You'll probably figure it out right away. It's the most eye-catching one. This is a 1953 Chevrolet Bel Air, but it has a Packard brand tail on it. Originally, this wasn't there. The finished design was printed and then completely custom-made with welding. This part, the way it's pointed, it makes you feel something, right? I really like it. The roof was originally higher, but it's been cut and shortened, which is called a chopped top. I also removed about 10 centimeters from here. It's probably the thinnest 1953 Bel Air in the world. That's what I'm aiming for. There's a button here. If you press it, it'll open. The windows also open with a snap of your fingers. Just kidding? This is also a button. Sorry about that. Do you see how hard it is to drive? I can't see the traffic lights unless I do this. I have something that reflects the view from above, so I use that to see the traffic lights. This is a rug that's usually used on the floor. I deliberately put the floor material on the ceiling. I think cars that are hard to drive are cool. This car is kind of like that, a little bit chunibu, so it doesn't have side mirrors. I think cars that are hard to drive are cool. This car is kind of like that, a little bit. When I change lanes, I have to look like this because the blind spot is so bad, which makes it difficult. Another unique thing about this car is its height. It has an air suspension, so I drive it with it raised. Do you want to see it go up? When I press this, it goes up. Now it's going up. When I press this one, it goes down. I drive it like this. Another unique feature is the flint from a lighter attached to the back of the car. It's a larger version of a lighter flint, and when I'm driving, I lower it to make sparks on the concrete. It's kind of a cultural thing, you know? Since it's a lowrider, I saw some bad adults doing it years ago. I thought, I want to try that, so I attached it. We've arrived. This is the warehouse restaurant I was talking about. Let me show you around. The highest point of the ceiling is about 8 meters, roughly equivalent to 3 stories high. The interior is around 500 square meters, which is about the size of a gymnasium. It feels very spacious, doesn't it? I decided to become independent when I was 30, so this is the first restaurant I made at the age of 30. There's a log at the reception, and when I tried to bring it in, they said that a 10-ton truck had to enter the restaurant. But since I had already bought it, I thought, then let's have a restaurant where a 10-ton truck can enter. So that's how it became a warehouse restaurant. To tell you the story, it's all thanks to this. I thought I'd be popular with women if I became a restaurant owner. So when I was about 22, I went to Tokyo and trained in restaurants. But I couldn't cook, so I studied management and business administration. That's the general flow. When I looked at the estimates for making this place, I was totally short on money. I got a loan, but I spent it on things like cars. So I still had no money. I figured DIY was the only way to go. I looked up how to do it on YouTube and made the lights, the walls, the welding, everything. I built all the walls myself. For 3.5 months, I worked from morning till midnight every day, and I was posting the whole process on Instagram. When I posted everything, like, I'm making these lights, the moment we opened, it was completely full, but we didn't have any job postings, so the 3 of us kept running the place at full capacity. We had a 3-hour wait for the meat, with 1 chef and 2 servers. The concept is a speakeasy, like during the Prohibition era in the 1930s. Maybe some people who are familiar with it know this, but back then in America, they'd hide bars because it was an era where you'd get arrested for drinking. Seriously. So my restaurant is in a hard-to-find place, kind of based on the Prohibition concept. I thought it would be good for it to be a place that only people in the know would know about. That's the concept. This area is called Marushe. I thought it would be great to help people in Shiga who are involved in crafts. They can display things they've made, and we can sell them here. So, this is a place where you can buy things made by craftspeople in Shiga. We built a watchtower and put a deer statue up. It's a lookout. It's for crime prevention. My favorite seating area is on the 2nd floor. There's a red chair there, my childhood friend, Mary Jun Takahashi, who is probably known from Ushijima the Loan Shark. And I have been close childhood friends. And Mary gave that to me when we opened, a sofa she was using at her home. Please watch your step. The camera is dangerous, you know. I received this sofa, and I've had it ever since. It's kind of weird to have this at home, you know? I stayed in Shiga the whole time, and Mary went to Tokyo first. Mary was actually the reason I started this restaurant. I kept asking her, how's Tokyo? Then when I said that I wanted to open a restaurant and go to Tokyo, she was like, Cole, come on over, I'll take care of you. So I went to Tokyo, studied, and that's where I am today, so I really owe it to Mary. As you can see, The ceiling here is 8 meters high. Normally you'd cover it with insulation, but I didn't want to, so we don't have it. Well, that makes it hot. It's hot in the summer and cold in the winter. And I installed a lot of air conditioners myself, but they don't work at all. I was shocked to hear that the electricity bill is 700,000 or 800,000 yen a month. That's the kind of thing you don't find out until after you open. If I was smart enough to know how expensive the electricity bill would be before opening, I probably wouldn't have opened in a warehouse. I really just want to say this. Being stupid is the best. Seriously, being stupid is the best. Originally, this place was a warehouse, so there was nothing here. I made all the plumbing myself, so the floor is a bit raised to allow the water to drain. The water doesn't flow unless it's from a higher point, so I raised it. I made all this myself. I didn't originally plan to put these lights here. I thought I'd put them here, in this main area, but they were way too small. So in the end I made these big lights. Then the ones that I bought originally were useless. So I hung a bunch of them here. The women's restroom. I made this whole box myself. I made everything from scratch. There was nothing here, so I first built a box, made the walls, and made all of this. I cut and painted this, and I made and cut this. I made all the doors too. We are very particular about the women's restroom, but we don't care about the men's restroom at all. At a restaurant in New York I went to a long time ago, there was a couple of my seniors, and when I went to the restroom, it was super dirty. I was like, wow, this is a dirty restroom. Then after that, the senior's wife went to the restroom and came back saying, the restroom was so clean. I was like, huh? When I asked a staff member, they said, we value lady first. So we spend money on the girls' restroom, but not the guys' restroom. So when you come to our restaurant, lady first is already established, they said. I thought that was cool, and I wanted to imitate it. So we spend money on the women's restroom, and we don't spend anything on the men's. So, there's another store nearby. It's about 5 minutes away by car. So would you like to go? Let's go for a quick look. This is my bar, but this bar is a bit different. Now, where's the entrance? The correct answer is here. Welcome. It's called the Hideaway Wardrobe, and a wardrobe means a clothing cabinet. You enter through a clothing cabinet at this store. Of course, I made all of this by hand. I made all of this, and I made this bar counter too. I thought I'd open a second store and thought, if it's in front of the station, it should be a bar. You can also eat here. The menu is Italian, so I wanted to make a stylish bar where you can eat. The paintings are by a photographer friend, and Mary Jun Takahashi's younger brother, who I mentioned earlier, does art. I asked him to put his work on the wallpaper, and we put them up using a transfer. The women's restroom. The men's restroom is fine here. And you usually can't enter the women's restroom here. Only girls can go in. Even the tissue dispenser is like this. It's made from a vintage vacuum tube. And this horn is the wash basin. I opened the hole and processed it myself to make it. The neon light is mirrored, so it looks weird when you look at it from this side, but when you look at it in the mirror, it says something like, look at that girl, she's cool. It's kind of slang. This is a slightly elevated space, and this is my favorite seating area. The things around the fireplace are called mantelpieces. I bought a vintage one and modified it. I wanted to put a fireplace here, but I couldn't. So I embedded a TV inside and play a fireplace picture from YouTube. Okay, then let's go to the garage in Osaka after this, shall we? Yes, let's go. As for my business, I'd say there are about 4 main areas: restaurants, interior design, car sales, and Wait, actually, make that 5. There's also antique furniture and antique furniture sales. So, yeah, about 5 in total. I didn't do anything but play tennis as a student. I played hard tennis. I was always playing hard tennis. I made it to the inter-high school championships in high school, the national tournament. After that, I went to university with a sports recommendation. But I quit after a year. I went through a lot of things, and after that, I just worked. Then, around the age of 21 or 22, I started to think that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. And I had a period where I was thinking a lot. During that time, I was always eating in front of a convenience store with the guys on site, right across from it. Well, it was summer and it was super hot, so we were eating ramen in the heat, I think. Then there was a stylish restaurant across the street with outdoor seating. And I saw a waiter chatting with 2 girls. I was like, what is that job? I thought, if I worked at a restaurant, I could work in a cool place. Or rather, I thought, if I became a restaurant owner, I'd be popular with women. So I quit my job immediately and went to Tokyo. From that point on, I set a goal to become a restaurant owner by the time I was 30. I think I went to Tokyo when I was 22 or 23. I trained for 8 years, then became independent at 30. As for funding, I had already decided to become a restaurant owner in my 20s, so I was saving up. Also, I couldn't get a loan back then. In your 20s, everyone buys a car with a loan, right? I couldn't get a loan, so I just kept working and saved about 6 million yen when I was 22. I wanted a car and was going to buy it outright. I had some money from what I had bought in the past, so I had quite a bit of savings. As for funding, I had already decided to become a restaurant owner in my 20s, so I was saving up. Also, I couldn't get a loan back then. In your 20s, everyone buys a car with a loan, right? I couldn't get a loan, so I just kept working and saved about 6 million yen when I was 22. I wanted a car and was going to buy it outright. I had some money from what I had bought in the past, so I had quite a bit of savings. I became independent using my savings and a loan. When I was making my second store, the one I just showed you, I got scammed. A friend of mine took about 15 million yen, and I had to pay back that money. So that's why I started the construction and interior design company. I started the interior design company because of that scam, and the rest of my businesses, well, they happened as I was just playing around. Since I loved cars, I bought a bunch of them, bought them in America, and drove them. Then my friends started saying they wanted one too, and when I started doing it for all of them, it turned into a business before I knew it. I also really love dogs. I was especially fascinated by how Americans always have big dogs riding in the front in movies, so I wanted to do that. Since my job is mainly meetings, I thought I could bring my dog with me. So I bought a dog I imported from Australia. And now with that dog, I'm thinking of maybe opening a dog grooming salon, or a pet hotel, or a business that's related to dogs in some way. We've arrived at the garage. This is my garage in Osaka. I rent it with my friends, and they are my friends here. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming so suddenly. We're doing some filming, and this is the group that rents this garage. This is Chake, Dragon, and Taka.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And that's Chake's car. What is that?
It is a 1935 Chevrolet.
A Chevrolet. And I have my Panhead motorcycle and Ruse Model T. I think that's a 1922. And that bike in the back is Ruse BSA. Taka's car went off for repairs yesterday. This one is in the shop for repairs right now, and that's the one that went off yesterday's trip. Ryu owns a clothing shop and Dragon runs NAS Toys. I always leave my clothing choices to Dragon, while Naoya acts as my sort of exclusive model. This clothing is from the Naniwa Road garage, right? It's just casual garage wear. It's our team jacket. We're always spending time together. When we go for a drive, we all gather here, take the cars out, cruise for a bit, and come back. But when I want to go, Taka's car is gone, or mine isn't available, so it's tough. There's always someone's car missing, so we only manage to drive together a few times a year. I was instantly drawn to its look. I thought, what is this car? That's how it all started. I used to like lowriders and cars from the 1960s and 70s. Then I moved on to the 1950s, like the one I have now. Recently, I've grown fond of cars from the 1920s. This one, for example, is exactly 100 years old. I ride it while imagining who might have driven it a century ago. Sometimes, peeling back the seat lining reveals American coins or old manuals from that time. It's so fun to picture the people who drove it back then as I take it out for a ride. Do you want to try riding in this car? Chake, let them take it for a ride. Oh, sure. This door opens from the center like a double door. So the stars should be visible, but you can't really see them in Osaka. When was it? Maybe summer or late summer? I had a street snap taken, and it went viral. Suddenly, I was getting 10,000 new followers a day. I had around 30,000 followers, but within a month, it jumped to 130,000, and now it's about 160,000. It's kind of scary, right? People even say they've seen me around town. I'm really grateful for that. I'm mainly based in the Kansai region, but my ambitions don't stop there. Next, I want to create the biggest restaurant in Japan, right in the Kanto region. More than anything, I want to keep being a cool adult, no matter how old I get, and live with true freedom. As long as I'm free and staying true to that vision, I don't feel the need to chase after money. I just want to always stay cool, because that's what it means to be a man.